worth. I kept undercharging, and so I raised my rates and started charging what I'm really worth to that niche market now that I was positioned as the expert to it. And holy cow, I mean, it took off. And then we use that same formula now for my client Sam out here in Chino, who went from making $30,000 a month to $105,000 a month, seven figures. Josh Carter in West Hills, California, rocking it with his training studio. I've got a client out in New Jersey, actually, who only does in-home training to high affluent population. The guy sells $23,000 personal training packages because he charges $147 a session and sells 3 and 4 day a week programs for 12 months. And it's amazing to see that, because once you break through that glass ceiling, the next 100,000 comes quicker. Number one. Number two, each of these guys had one thing in common. They knew who their niche was. They positioned themselves to that niche as the expert. And because of that, they were able to justify charging a hell of a lot more than the average rank-and-file trainer.
No, makes a lot of sense. I mean, you see the specialists, they make more money no matter what the field is. So that's definitely some good info. Now, one thing you brought up right there, and it's something that I see a lot in the things and the advice you give to trainers, is the big training package. Now, with what I usually tell trainers to do when they're solo and they're dealing with clients one-on-one, and they're really relying on relationship selling, is not to push for a big package, or at least not from the very beginning. But once you get into more of a business setup, when you have a studio or you have other trainers working for you, the big package, it sounds like it's more essential. Can you talk about some of that, the pricing structures, and which one's appropriate?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I should preface this by saying, when you sell a big package, let's say a 12-month program, the biggest mistake I did in the beginning, once I figured out, well, holy cow, if I can sell a 3-month program, I can sell a 12-month program. All I had to do was I kind of borrowed from the car companies and said, look, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, the reason they can afford a 2, 3, or 4 month program is because they can pay that lump sum in full. And their objection to a 12-month program has always been, well, I can't afford, $7,000 in full. Or in Andrew's case out there in New Jersey, who's doing $20,000 plus per program, people can't necessarily fork up $20,000 in full. So my whole thing was, do what a car company does, finance it. So it's a 12-month program, but you'll pay first and last month down, and this is the formula that I use. And it's important that you get that first and last month down from the client. Here's why. Sometimes, as you know, when you're training a client, you kind of fall ahead in the training session. So where they're supposed to train with you, let's say 12 times a month, there might be a month where they train with you 14, 15 times a month. And so if you only took the first month down, now you're upside down in payments. You're giving out more sessions and they're giving out money. But if you took the first and last month down, then you're always ahead in payments. And so you have sessions to spare, which means you can train them more often in the beginning, or if there's a certain month they have more time to train more frequently, you can do that. So it was first and last month down, and then 10 equal payments of X, Y, and Z, whatever that dollar amount was. Like in Andrew's case, it's like $1,700 a month. My average training program for my facilities back in the day were around $480 a month. And where I really screwed up was I would sign people up on a 12-month program, and then the 12-month program would end, and then I found myself having to reclose them. And by the way, the reason I came up with the 12-month program was, as much as I had figured out the formula for selling with the whole script and the diagrams and all that, and I was closing 85, 90% of the prospects in front of me, I still hated selling. I'm a personal trainer. I'm not a salesman. I don't like going through the sales process. I don't like experiencing it, and I don't like delivering it. And so I figured, well, crap, if I could just get people to buy a longer-term program, I won't have to sell them until 12 months from now. Well, that came to kind of bite me in the butt, because 12 months from now, you got to resell them again. And you're going through the whole process again of building value, getting them to write a check or give you that credit card. So the second time around, when I reinvented the whole 12-month package, I said, look, you're going to pay first and last month down, then you have 10 equal payments of X, Y, and Z, let's say $480. And then after 12 months, you're on our maintenance program for only $380 a month, which gets you, instead of 4 days a week, 3 days a week, because now you're on the maintenance program. And so literally went from a 12-month program, and month number 13, it rolled over into a quote-unquote maintenance program where they pay $100 less, and they come one time less per week. And it was a win-win for everybody. They pay less, they still see a trainer, and we found that our average client lifetime value extended out to 19 months, which, is not a bad thing. And so that's how I kind of came up with that formula. Now, the reason I came up with that is because the whole idea of continuity, or EFT, electronic fund transfer, this thing is the most brilliant thing ever. For example, this month I got 10 people to pay me $480 because I got 10 new clients. Well, if we do $480 times 10, that's $4,800. Now, if next month I got 10 people to pay me $480 on top of this 10, well, let's do the math there. That's 4,800 times 2. That gives us 9,600. Mm-hmm. So next month, let's get another 10, right? So 4,800. Now, by month number 3, we're doing $14,000 a month. So we're going to add another 4,800. You can see where I'm going here. Now we're at $19,000 a month. Yeah, and so all of a sudden, you're not, and I hated this, and maybe you've experienced this too, where, you're making a killing all month. You've sold all this personal training, but then now comes the beginning of the next month, and you're back to zero.
Yep.
And it's like, well, I know my nut is like $8,000 is what I need in profit, so I need to sell probably, $12,000, $13,000, $1,000 in training. And why am I starting from zero again, just because it's March 1st? And so with EFT, I know that next month, literally by month number 5, I've got $19,000 scheduled to come in. Now, not all 19,000 will come in. Some people's credit cards might bounce, and other people might quit early. But if 14 of the 19,000 comes in, well, I'm still ahead of my curve. And what that allowed me to do is allow me to live my life. I can go on a short vacation knowing that I don't have to be around to sell. Money's still coming in, and people are still training with my trainers. I can actually have my knee surgery, and I've had 2 knee surgeries, and it was the EFT of my business that allowed me to do that. I knew I could step away for a month and get 2 knee surgeries knowing that I've got continuity coming in every month. I didn't have to be there to sell training to clients and then pass them off to the trainers. And so that formula, once I plugged in the whole EFT and 12-month program package together, allowed me to generate enough revenue where every 8 months I was opening up a new personal training facility in San Diego until ultimately I sold all 5 locations off to a bigger organization and went off into coaching and consulting trainers.
Mm-hmm. No, sounds real good, man. Some really killer advice there. You basically have not only the sales, but every aspect down to a science, so that's some really amazing stuff. Now, beyond just the business end of personal training and starting a training business, a training facility, you go even beyond that. You have something called the 7-figure formula, just a general wealth strategy for trainers. What's that about?
Yeah, all right. Well, let me grab a pen here so I can draw it out. Even though we're on the phone, I've got severe ADD and several other learning disabilities, so I'm very visual. When people tell me, "Hey, Bedros, I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to visualize this thing," and they start talking about colors and shapes of whatever it is, let's say a house or a car or this vacation they went on, I can't visualize it. But if they draw out whatever it is they're trying to get me to visualize, it just works for me. So I tend to draw even when I'm on the phone. But basically, if you imagine a triangle, the 7-figure formula is this, and I kind of stumbled upon it about 2 years ago as I kept analyzing how was it that I kept producing $1 million earning trainers. Because I kept looking back at my coaching clients and clients that I've been helping for the last 2, 3, 4 years. What steps did we take that I teach them, and what did they do to create 7 figures when they weren't creating 7 figures? And it boiled down to, if you drew a triangle, inside that triangle you put the word starving crowd. And all that means is you figure out who your target niche market is. Now, ideally, it should be a starving crowd that's easy to reach. In other words, a starving crowd is looking for personal trainers. So if a starving crowd is college students, well, maybe some college students want to get in shape,